Welcome back to the Excuse Me Brother podcast. I am one of your hosts, Producer Jay. Let me move this mic a little bit closer. Solo episode for me this week. I promised Brother Jay and Brother Tay to do a solo episode because they did a solo episode, and it's only fair that I do one as well, even though I came horribly unprepared. It's not my fault. It's hard to think of stuff to talk about for an hour. Let's be honest. I don't know how those guys did it. But for me, decided that I was going to do a variety of topics. Um, Brother Jay suggested some topics to me, and I apologize, but I'm not going to be doing anything like that just because it's hard for me to talk about things that are in serious nature, of serious nature, or that are philosophical, that make you think and stuff like that. Whenever I talk about that stuff, I like to have somebody else present because I like the back and forth. I don't like giving my views on things unopposed. I like hearing different opinions. I like getting the other side, a different perspective. Um, so it's hard for me to talk about that stuff by myself, especially for an hour, because I I'm not one to talk for a long time about a certain thing because then it just comes off as me ranting or complaining or, for lack of a better term, bitching about it, because a lot of stuff gets me upset. Um, but I always stay quiet about it because I don't like sounding annoying. But anyway, I came up with a few topics to talk about. It's gonna be more lighthearted than other episodes, just because that's kind of how I want to feel when I'm doing these episodes. I like to feel good. I like to feel upbeat. Granted, there are episodes like last week where we talked about Damar Hamlin, and we have to be a little bit more downtoned, a little bit more serious just because of the topic. But this time I want to be a little bit more upbeat about the topic. So I got a few topics here. By the way, if you're watching on video, I know I need to shave. I need a haircut. It's nasty for just being honest. The thing is, I don't want to shave before I get a haircut, and I don't want to get a haircut without shaving. So it's like I gotta wait until I get a haircut, but it's just I have no time to get a haircut. That's the problem. Because I don't know, for whatever reason, whenever I go get a haircut, it takes so freaking long. Like, unless you're going in like early crack of dawn as soon as they open, you're gonna be there for at least an hour just sitting and waiting because it's so packed. Like, that's the one thing I hate about going. And that, me having social anxiety, it comes really hard to me to be around a lot of people, especially in a social setting, when they want to speak to you and they want to talk about whatever it is, and then I'm just like, I'll be quiet. It's one of those things that I just. It's not that I can't stand it. It's just hard for me to just go out and do. Like, I literally have to like mentally prepare to go out and do stuff because of my social anxiety and stuff. But anyway, we're gonna talk about well, first, what we'll talk about is the upcoming Last of Us show. Now, um, for those of you that may not know, I do host another podcast. It's the Loading Up podcast with Brother Zay and Brother Tay. It's mostly gaming related. I mean, we do talk about different stuff there, but majority is gaming related. And I was gonna bring this up then, but because this show comes out after we do the we so we record the episode on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, and then we upload it around Tuesday. Um, but because this show airs after we record, and then by the time we post it, it already happened. It doesn't make sense to talk about it there. But because it's a TV show, I feel like it's a little bit more okay to talk about it here. Um, so yeah, The Last of Us TV show. I've never been a big fan of The Last of Us. It's a great game, no doubt. Like, I very much enjoyed it, and I do look forward to watching the show. It does look good based on the trailers, and it's I don't know how many episodes it is. I didn't look that up. I don't know if they ever said it, but it looks to be very good. The problem with it though is, I guess this goes to more of like adaptations, because they can be very hit or miss. Uh, for a long time, video game adaptations have not been very good. Especially like if you look at the Halo one that just recently aired last year, that was, I mean, I don't want to say it was bad, but it definitely was not what people were expecting. It wasn't what I was expecting. Let's be honest. They really took a lot of liberties with the story. It was a completely original story. So I think when people have an idea about what an adaptation should be, I think they get confused about what they think is an adaptation. So an adaptation is when you take a property or an IP and you adapt it, you make it something, like you change it, you change the medium of what it originally was. So like comic book movies, they changed the medium of what it is. At first it was a comic, now it's a movie. When you're doing that, it can't, like, there's just no way to make it one to one. There's no, like, it'll just look ridiculous because they've done it before and it's turned out really bad, and because they don't know how to properly adapt, they literally do one to one, or they change everything about it, and just like literally the only thing is the title character is the same. Like for example, like Catwoman. Like I don't think that movie had anything to do with the comics, or like Catwoman herself. Literally was just the name, and then the fact that she stole stuff. That's it. The costume wasn't the same. Her actions weren't the same. Nothing about Batman was like even mentioned in that movie, and it goes to be like one of the worst things, the worst movies out there in terms of comic book movies. Honestly, I think it's the worst movie ever, but that's another topic. But yeah, so when you adapt something, you have to find the correct balance when it comes to how it's portrayed compared to how it was in the original medium. So with The Last of Us, the whole story was basically about Joel and Ellie, and it was their relationship, how they grew fond of each other, and how initially they didn't like each other, or maybe Joel didn't like her, she didn't really care, whatever. But it was about their relationship and how they grew or whatever. So I guess that's the main thing that they need to focus on for the show. They need to properly get that across through, and that's pretty easy, especially considering Sony has made an effort to make their games more cinematic, so it lends itself easier to be adapted into like a movie or a TV show. For this case, it's a TV show just because these games are long. So it's kind of hard. I mean, it's not difficult to make it into a movie, but it's better served as a show. Honestly, I see a lot of things becoming TV shows as opposed to movies, because I remember not a long time ago, but maybe like 10 years ago, movies were like the thing. Like that's everything had to be a movie. TV was all but dead, at least in my eyes. I don't think I haven't watched. Well, I've watched a lot of TV shows, but um, 10 years ago, I barely watched TV. Like I couldn't even tell you what was on TV 10 years ago. That's how bad it was for me. Like I just didn't watch TV. And now with the rise of streaming services, it makes it easier to catch up on that stuff. So it's one of those things where because of different avenues to access this content, it makes TV shows a lot more appealing, because you can um, you can keep people subscribed. First of all, you can keep people subscribed by doing the week two, except for Netflix. Netflix likes to do that drop all at once thing. Granted, I'm not one to shy away from binging culture. I like binging. Like that's it's easier to get that uh how do I say it? It's easier to consume that product that way, just because I can watch it on my own time. I don't have to worry about um, having to finish an episode. Oh, I gotta wait a week. So I'm okay with binging, but I do also like the week to week releases, which I don't know if Last of Us. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be week to week. That's I feel like I've heard that somewhere. I don't think HBO Max, because that's where Last of Us is. I don't think that they're doing, or they ever done, an all at one drop. Um, as far as I know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be week to week. But I do like week to week because of the engagement that it brings people. Um, Especially after an episode drops, you go on social media, everybody's talking, everybody's memeing it, everybody's being excited about, oh, what's going to happen next. Granted, it depends on the show, because not every show has that. Obviously, some shows have like filler episodes, and some episodes are just like, okay, whatever. Not every episode's gonna have that big cliffhanger, so to speak. Um, and to be honest, I wouldn't want every episode to be like that, because it's it feels forced. A lot of times, well, sometimes there's episodes where it feels like they're purposely just stalling, just so they can have that cliffhanger and then get you to tune in on the next episode. Um, but yeah, so I do like the week to week aspect too. Um, but yeah, so with The Last of Us, it definitely looks really good. I do hope that it doesn't change too much about the original story, because I think, when especially when it comes to video games, because that's the thing. Video games have had it rough when it comes to adaptations. Like, I doubt there's been very many good video game adaptations, and I I'm trying to think to see if there was. I mean, there was Sonic. I mean, I was talking in the group chat with the guys that Brother Jay is not. He's not look. I don't want to say he's not looking for. He's going to it with very low expectations of this show, because of the history of video game adaptations. They don't do good. They try to take it too far. They change too much, and it doesn't translate well. It's like they're trying to serve the general audience too much, and then just kind of neglecting what made the IP popular, which was video. Like, gamers, they made it popular. That's why you're adapting it. So you have to cater to that. I feel like you have to cater to that audience first before you jump over to making it have a broader appeal. So yeah, so I think it was Sonic. I brought up the example Sonic. Sonic did a good job. I think it was because everybody had low expectations, just because of the precedent that has been set about video game movies. So when people went into Sonic, they weren't expecting much. The first one was, it was decent. I'll be honest. The first one was decent. I don't think it was like the greatest thing ever. It was a good starting off point, and it was obviously it's a kids movie, so it's like you can't you can't really judge it too harshly. They are catering to kids, like that's who the audience is for, or that's who the audience is. So it was a good start, and then the sequel, though, they took it and ran. Like, they saw the formula, and they decided, let's take it up a notch. Let's have more references. Let's have more faithful to the Sonic character, the Sonic canon, or lore, or whatever you want to call it. Um, and it led to, especially Jim Carrey. He stole the show on both ends. On both movies, he stole the show. Honestly, he probably saved the movie. Let's be honest, but um, they did a good job at making it a general story that anybody could get into, while also being faithful to what makes Sonic popular, which was his relationship with his friends, his like quick-witted and sassy attitude, and I feel like that's the appeal of Sonic. So I think they did a good job with that, and now they have me hyped. Like, at the end, I mean, spoilers, it's been out it came out last year, right? Yeah, it came out last year. um they got me hyped for Sonic 3 because that freaking ending with Shadow showing up, I literally got chills. And it was funny because I watched it with my sons, and they they were just as excited as me. They were like, "Daddy, that's my favorite character, Shadow." And I was like, "Yeah, that's my favorite character too." So it was a nice bonding moment. So, but it was a good example of how you do an adaptation properly. Like, you have to find the balance. And I'm not gonna say what the balance is. I'm not a director. I'm not a showrunner on a TV show. Like, I can't find the formula of what it is that makes a good a video game adaptation. So, um, just I would just say watch Sonic, see what it did, see what it didn't do, and just go from there. I guess for like future reference in video game stuff. Another one I'm excited for is Super Mario. That looks amazing. At first, I was a little bit skeptical because the whole voice of Mario with Chris Pratt and all that shit. It was a little bit jarring. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like they did enough of a good job at fan service. Not too much, but I don't know what's wrong with my throat. But they did a good job with enough fan service to get the people who are fans of Mario. Which, let's be honest, everybody's a fan of Mario. Like, I can't picture me going up to somebody just random and be like, "Do you know who Super Mario is?" and them saying no. I feel like Mario is synonymous, is a household name. Mario, along with Mickey Mouse, everybody knows Mickey Mouse. I'm trying to think who else. I'm sure there's others. Like, I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's a lot of household names, and I feel like Mario is one of them. So I hope they do good with that one. But when it pertains to Last of Us, I do think it's gonna be faithful enough to get fans of the game in and watching the show. Now, they did say that they changed one aspect of the game into the show, which was the how the virus spread. Because in the game, it was a spore, so it was like airborne or whatever. The problem with that, especially as we've seen with COVID, when a virus or a disease or whatever, when it's airborne, it spreads pretty fast. So that I think the idea of it being airborne, it worked for the games because it was isolated into certain areas. So as soon as you see it, you put on the gas mask and whatever. But I think when it comes to a show, it's hard to dictate that, or not dictate. It's hard to show that on a TV show. You know what I mean? So I think their explanation is that it's mostly by scratch, or like basically the traditional zombie apocalypse trope of it being a bite or a scratch or something contact. And they say that's how it spreads, which makes more sense considering it's a fungal disease. So, at least in the game, that's how it was explained, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's explained in the show as well. That it's a fungal disease, so it makes more sense for it to be scratch, bite, or some sort of contact. But yeah, it looks good. I'm excited. I hope it follows that narrative of the games properly, so that way it can be successful, and then we could get a season 2, which will follow the sequel, which I haven't played yet, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. um let's go into so this has been a pretty significant topic, at least to me. So, as you know, I am a very big wrestling fan, and it's been rough, to say the least, over the past few years of being, or to be, a wrestling fan, especially one that doesn't like, I don't want to say I have a very specific taste, but like there's certain aspects of wrestling that I do enjoy that I wish I could change, but I just can't. So I'm a fan of WWE, and I can't. I've grown up with it, and it becomes hard to watch other because there's other products, there's other wrestling shows, there's AEW, there's New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's even like indie shows that have TV and stuff like that. But I can't not watch WWE because they have a certain style that when it hits, it hits and it's like perfect. And I've tried watching the other ones, they just, I don't know, for whatever reason they just don't have that. It's more of the athletic part, but honestly, that's not why I'm watching wrestling. Like you would think when it comes to wrestling, you watch because it's physical, it's athletic, it's hard hitting, all that stuff. Like yeah, that's a aspect of it, but I also watch it as a TV show. So like when I watch a TV show, I expect a good story to be told. And I feel like other companies just they don't have good stories. For me personally, not saying that they don't have any stories. For me, in my perspective, they don't really have the same stories that I appreciate. But um so if you haven't heard, about a year ago, I want to say last July, it was like 8 months ago. They there was an article by the Wall Street Journal. I'm pretty sure this has like if you're watching this, you had to have heard this because like, I don't. This like sent shockwaves through like social media. Like I feel like everybody knew what was going on. Um, so Vince McMahon, the chairman and CEO of WWE, had allegations of sexual harassment, and I think there was more. So I don't know the super specifics about it, but he was basically ousted as being a sexual predator, and he he had basically, I'm trying to get all the stories right in my head so that way I don't like misrepresent what happened. So he had paid off. So he had relationships with. I want to say it was forced, or it was like, kind of like, oh, your career might benefit out of this relationship or whatever. So with an employee of WWE. So he had a relationship with them. Was it whether it was coerced or not? I don't know. But the thing was that he had paid them off, and he was using WWE's funds to do so. And I want to say it was like I think it was like 20 million. I could be wrong. I don't have the information up in front of me, so I can't remember the exact number, but it was like something like $20 million that he had paid off a few employees. It wasn't just one, it was a few employees. And he paid them off to he's made them sign an NDA. Basically, like this never happened. Don't say shit and whatever. Obviously, some of them came out and said, "Hey, this happened," and that got out, and it was like a whirlwind of controversy to the point where people were wondering like what was gonna happen, what's the show gonna be about, like, or is it gonna affect the show rather. um and it didn't for the most part at first. So I think when the first allegations came out, Vince McMahon came out on TV and was just saying a bunch of stuff. Like I think he was just like, I thank you all for being here. You supported blah blah. It was basically all fluff, just to show that like I'm not gonna back down. And apparently, when after he did that on TV, he went to the back and basically said, "Fuck him." So he was basically laughing in the face of these allegations, and it's insane. Vince McMahon is an insane person. Um, so yeah, that happened, and it only got worse. It went downhill. So This got out. He went on TV or whatever, and then more allegations came out. So like I think it was like one allegation, then more, and then more. Like literally, it was like week after week there was more allegations coming out to the point, and it was implicating other people within the company. So I think people, or it was like higher ups or the board members, suggested that he step down because if these allegations led into a lawsuit, that's going to hurt the company. So they said, step down and we'll take over. You lie low, let the things die. And sadly, that's how it works because it's not the first time this has happened to like a CEO. It's crazy. But so he steps down and he announced that he's retiring, like retiring, not saying, "Oh, I'm taking a leave of absence. I'm stepping away. I'm still gonna be around." But no, he retired flat out. He gave the company to his daughter, which his daughter, like literally, I want to say a month before, had said she was taking a leave of absence, which was kind of fishy because it seems like she knew what was about to happen. She was like, "I don't want any part of this." So, um, so the stuff came out. He steps down and retires. His daughter Stephanie was instated. Yeah, that's the right word, right? Because I know reinstated is a thing, but instated is, I don't know. She was instated as the new CEO or co CEO. There was another guy. Has his name is Nick Khan. He was instated as another. So there were co CEOs. There was two CEOs. I feel like that I've never heard that before. Granted, I don't pay attention to business, so I wouldn't know regardless. But yeah, they were co CEOs, and then Triple H was gonna handle like the day to day stuff, like the TV show, anything. He was promoted to chief operating officer and or of content or something like that. Basically, he was in charge of everything you see on TV. So anything that was on TV or social media as well. So everything on TV, on the internet, representing WWE, it fell under him. So it was under his control. So that happened, and everything seemed okay. And honestly, um, I felt reinvigorated as a wrestling fan, and they started bringing back, because right, also prior they released a lot of people because of this money that he was paying off, like $20 million was spent on these NDAs, sending to these people who he had a relationship with, and that money had to come from somewhere. So they cut a lot of the wrestlers to make that money appear. And so they brought back a lot of the wrestlers that left, and it started to have some like steam rolling again. Like things were picking up. It was starting to get entertaining again, because if you don't know, wrestling under Vince McMahon it was frustrating to say the least. um I won't go into why, because I literally, I could honestly make a whole podcast about why WWE was it was trash. I was just gonna say it was trash for a long time, but it started to change, and I started to get excited again about it. So recently, about, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, there was another Wall Street Journal article that basically said Vince McMahon wants back. No, it wasn't. It was like last week. Yeah. Well, so it was like a leak maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago that kind of said that he wanted to come back, but it wasn't like confirmed. It was like rumor, hearsay, whatever. Um. So yeah. So a week ago, it was it was posted by the Wall Street Journal that he wanted to come back, and they even got a quote from him saying that he intends to come back on the board of directors to oversee a sale. And that did not go well, because it sent the whole, um I want to say, wrestling community, but I don't know if it got out elsewhere. I don't think so. Not this initial part. I'll get to what got really crazy. So, um the news that he was potentially coming back to the board was it sent shockwaves through like the wrestling community. Everybody was being like, "Oh, how could he do this? It's crazy. How could he like he can't just will his way back." The problem is that he had I'm sorry if like on the video I'm noticing it right now like every time I move it like auto focuses. I apologize. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just the way my camera works. So hopefully it's not too bad after because I'm looking at the camera as I'm talking and I'm looking off like whenever I got to think. I'm not looking at the camera itself like on the screen. So I don't know when it's doing it. I just noticed it now, but hopefully it's not doing it too much. Anyway, so when where was I? I lost my train of thought. Uh wow, I really blanked out. What the hell? This is crazy. I was literally on a roll and then I just blanked out. Oh, so he it came out that he was coming back and people thought it was just a rumor. But they got a quote from him saying that he wanted to come back. But the thing was is that he kept his majority stake in the company. So he was still majority shareholder and he basically used that to hold the company hostage and said he said if I don't come back on the board of directors, I will not approve a sale because that's WWE's trying to sell. Like they've been trying to sell for years, and I'm pretty sure they started having talks. And he said, "I will not approve any sale until I'm back." Basically, and also the TV rights are up next year. So this year is when they have to renegotiate. And when they did that, so when he said that he basically was just like I'm giving you no choice. This is an ultimatum. Either watch this company die or bring me back. That's basically what he said. And a lot of people were talking about oh they can't do that because they unanimously decided that it was a bad idea and this and that. And literally within 24 hours, he was back. Not only was he back, but he brought on two of his former employees, like the higher ups that used to work there, um, with him. So it was him and two others that were instated into the board. And for them to be back, three had to step down. So three of them stepped down. One of them, I forget their names, but one of them was actually leading the investigation that they initially started when the allegations came out a year prior. So it's crazy that the guy who led the investigation into Vince McMahon's sexual harassment allegations and payoffs is gone. He stepped down. Whether it was a conflict of interest, maybe he just didn't want any part of it. He was done, or he just didn't want to be working with that guy anymore, Vince McMahon. He stepped down, and two others stepped down. So him and those two other former employees are back on the board. So that was crazy enough, and people are upset because now they think that he's going to use this as leverage to basically take back control of the company because he's technically not CEO. He's just chairman of the board and majority shareholder. Um, so he's literally just on the business end. He has nothing to do with like what happens on TV. That's still under Triple H, Paul Levesque. Um, so yeah, so that's still separate. But people are worried that he's gonna weasel his way into it. And honestly, I'm worried about that too. But the crazy part is that um so yeah, his daughter who stepped away right before the allegations came out, came back to be CEO, ran as co-CEO with Nick Khan, and then after he came back and was reinstated on the board, she resigned. Like not just left, like initially she took a leave of absence, which means like she was still part of the company, but she was taking a break. She resigned, like straight up resigned, and was gone. Like she said that I'm down, or I'm down, I'm gone. I had a great run, whatever, and basically left service. and my father's gonna be the chairman and executive of the board, all that stuff. So that raised a little bit of red flags. But then the same day, the same night that she left, there was a whole shitstorm about who WWE was going to sell to. And there was a lot of there was talks. Obviously, people knew who was in the running. There was Comcast or ABC, NBC, Universal, which is who they deal with now, because WWE is on or Raw is on USA Network, which is part of NBC, and they do their pay per views and have content on Peacock, which is also NBC. Um, so they already deal with them pretty much. So that seems like the front runner for who would potentially buy them. There's also Disney. There's Amazon. There is Endeavor, who owns UFC and who UFC sold to. Um, there's also Time Warner Discovery. There's a bunch of different ones, but one that stuck out because of who it is, obviously, is the Saudi Arabian government. They go by a different name. It's like a fund, or I can't remember exactly, but it's Saudi Arabia basically is in the running to buy WWE. And if you don't know about them, I won't go into detail because it's very hard to discuss like what happened with the Saudi government. But basically, they've been working with them because the Saudis want to revamp their public image. So WWE was one company out of a few. I don't know if there's a lot, but there's a few that are working with the Saudi government to put on shows in Saudi Arabia to make it seem like they're more open and they're more modernized. So WWE puts on shows in Saudi Arabia, like big shows, like WrestleMania quality shows, and that's been a thing. I think they have like a 10-year deal. I think we're on like year 5. We're like halfway through the deal. Anyway, so they've been running shows, and so the day that Stephanie McMahon resigned, a rumor got out that the Saudi government had purchased WWE. Now, it wasn't confirmed, obviously, because it was all over Twitter, and all the insiders, the wrestling insiders, who usually have some information about this stuff, they couldn't figure it out. Like they were blindsided by this. It was some, I don't want to say it was a no name that said this news, but it was, I guess this guy had a track record of being right sometimes. But all the sources that I usually go to said they couldn't figure out anything. At least they were trying to figure out, and they couldn't get a word, obviously, because it was like 11 at night when this news broke. So obviously nobody's going to be around to get comments on to see if it's actually true or not. So yeah, that oh man, like when that news broke, it was everywhere. Every, like, even like mainstream news, they were talking about the next day, but they were talking about it on like CNBC. They were talking on Fox, I don't know, Fox News, when they talk about like the stock market and stuff like that. Everybody was talking. CNN, I believe they mentioned it. Um but all of them said that it was just a rumor. And it wasn't until, I want to say, like around noon, that it was basically debunked. And it came out that it was just hearsay. Somebody was just making news just to make news. Although the person who started the news kind of doubled down, he didn't really like fully double down, said like, no, this is true, I heard it and I'm sticking to it. He basically said, this is what I heard, and I'm not gonna delete it. Or I think he deleted the original tweet, but he said that I'm not gonna retract it. But he said, this is what I heard. So either his sources are wrong or he just misunderstood what it was. And but that didn't stop people from going crazy about it, cuz imagine WWE has it's a global media conglomerate. So basically it talks about it does business um around the world. So it it would be beneficial to for the Saudis at least to have them under their wing. The only problem with that is the reputation that the Saudis have is not what you want associated with this product. Because WWE for the longest time is trying to build up, like trying to get back the the quote unquote lapsed fan. Because I feel like everybody was a wrestling fan at one point. I find it hard to believe that you just didn't know about anything wrestling. Maybe recently, um like I want to say like Gen Z, you would have no idea what wrestling is. But if you were alive in the 90s, even as a kid, you knew about wrestling. You knew who The Rock was, you knew Stone Cold, The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, Mankind. You knew all those guys. And chances are you were a fan. And when all those guys started to phase out, obviously you move on as well. So they've been trying to get those fans back for a decade plus. Like ever since they lost them, they've been trying to get them back. That they've been bringing back old stars. Like the Rock is probably gonna have a match at this year's WrestleMania. Stone Cold had a match at last year's WrestleMania after being supposedly retired because of his back injuries. Um, yeah, so they've been trying their damnedest to bring those fans back, and I feel like they haven't really been able to do it. So that was what was refreshing about when Vince McMahon left, because they stopped that pretty much and they focused on new talent, new up and coming talent. You have to focus on the future. You can't keep going back to the past. This goes for anything, not just wrestling. You can't keep leaning back on nostalgia. Like you just can't. You have to move forward. You have to be new and you have to build up the future stars or the future whatever it is. You can't keep going back. And I felt like that's what they were doing under Vince when he was there. So yeah, so basically I just wanted to talk about that because I it's been so as a fan, I grew up with wrestling. So it has regardless, I don't watch that much or I haven't watched that much up until Vince left. So it got me back into it, and I wanted to talk about it because it affects me because I grew up with wrestling and I loved it as a kid, and even as growing up I loved it, and I constantly come back to it because it's just there's something about it that you can't get anywhere else. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what it is. It's just something. It's like the X factor that wrestling has, and there's no other place I can get that. Video games come close, so that's like my other love. But yeah, so I it affected me, and literally when I thought, because the whole thing was is that if the Saudis bought it, or the rumor was that the Saudis bought it and they were taking it back private, and the thing is that the Saudis have been able or haven't been able to get a TV rights deal for a long time. They, like I said, they've been trying to revamp their image. They're trying to change public perception, and they've been trying to get TV to support all the or to showcase all their stuff. I don't know what they own, but they've been trying to get TV and they have not been able to. Like they've got some deals for like specific special events or whatever, but outside of those, they don't have like regular TV. So the thought that they would get WWE as some sort of leverage to get that TV scares me because it could potentially mean that WWE will die. And with for me at least, if WWE dies, wrestling is done. Because like I said, the other companies, they don't they can't provide For me personally, I don't know about anybody else because there people watch wrestling for different reasons. For me, it would have died because I really can't get into the other. I'd probably try. Obviously, I'm not gonna just give up one like just one shot without even giving it an attempt. But they the idea of them being bought by the Saudis and then not being able to get a TV deal, it scares me because I don't want it to go away, and that's what that meant to me. So I was like, I had anxiety. Granted, like it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It's freaking wrestling, but I don't know why I'm so attached to it, and it just affected me. And once so it came out that it was debunked, obviously, and then once I saw that, I was like, "Oh, thank God!" Because I didn't want it to die. That's basically what happened. If the Saudis bought it, WWE was dead. Um, so there's other suitors. I mean, I mentioned them. Um, I think did I say Disney? I think it's Disney. I hope Disney buys them, just because like at least I know Disney's not going anywhere. They got TV, like and they got Disney Plus. Like, granted, they're not doing so financially well right now, but I they could weather the storm because WWE does good financially. So if they buy them, they don't got to worry about them. They make money, so it will pay for itself within a few years. Um, but yeah, so those are my thoughts on the whole Vince McMahon sale saga, whatever. Um, damn, I've been talking about this for. I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to talk for an hour, and I literally had only two topics, and I'm already almost done. Let's see. So I got the Last of Us, Vince McMahon. So do I want to keep it lighthearted or do I want to be angry? It's the question. All right. So I'll talk about the Ant-Man trailer because I feel like that'll be quick. So obviously, we've had multiple episodes on here about Marvel. I'm a big Marvel head. I'm MCU. I read some comics, not as much as like the average comic fan, but I read some comics. And the Ant-Man trailer is I remember when I first heard about like Ant-Man or the new one, and I don't know what it is about it, but for whatever reason, whenever I first hear about Ant-Man, it doesn't pique my interest for whatever reason. Maybe it's just because it's Ant-Man. It's like C tier. I feel bad. The trailer looks awesome. I'll just say that. But Ant-Man is like a C tier hero. The movies have been great though, because um I skipped the first two, and it wasn't until I did like a whole rewatch of the MCU that I watched them, and then I was like, wow, these are actually pretty good. Why did I skip them? It's because at the time I skipped the other people that I didn't know. I just stuck to the main cast, like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Why did I blank on that? I don't know what's going on, but so Ant-Man kind of wasn't on my radar. And when they first announced this, I know like I'm going to watch all of it. Like that, let's be real. I watch every single movie now. But when I first heard it, it didn't like pique my interest because I didn't know what it was going to be about, obviously. So when the first trailer dropped, I was like, okay, this is serious because they announced I think their lineup up until 2026, and one of them is Avengers Kang Dynasty. So right off the bat, Kang is gonna be like the big bad. He's gonna be the Thanos. Um, if you don't know, he's a bigger threat than Thanos because he is more conniving and he has more powers. Pretty much, he can basically control time. How do you fight against time? Like that's insane. That's a good metaphor. Like you can't fight against time. It's happened. It's inevitable. But so yeah, they introduced Kang in Loki, the TV show, and they announced that he was gonna be an Ant-Man. And that intrigued me because how the fuck is Ant-Man gonna beat Kang? Like it's Ant-Man. like when you think a big bad, like think Thanos, would you think, hey, let's make an Ant-Man movie and have him fight Thanos in that movie? Like that just seems insane because you're like, that's Thanos. How you gonna? Well, there was a meme that there was a way for Ant-Man to kill Thanos, but I'll let you do the googling on that topic. But anyway, so yeah, when they announced Kang being in this movie, I was like, how the fuck? How? This Ant Man? How is he gonna fight him? And then they showed the trailer, the official, I guess, trailer, because I think the first one was just a teaser, but this one's official trailer. Um, it looks crazy, like the visuals, and the concept of like Kang needing to uh I don't want to say hire, but work with Ant Man for something. I don't. It's also it's very mysterious because like, what would Kang need Ant Man for that he couldn't do himself? He can control time. Like it doesn't make sense. So that's what a lot of times with these movies, I'm just intrigued by like how they're gonna do this. Like what is going on? Honestly, that's what I love about this stuff. That's what I loved about WandaVision and Loki, because those had an element of mystery to it that you just could not match. And every episode I was trying to figure it out. And that's another thing of why I like week to week stuff, because both WandaVision and Loki were TV shows that aired week to week. And every week you would try to figure out what is going on. And people were online talking about their theories and all that. And it's so fun. I love that shit. It was honestly, for as bleak as because it was like 2021, right? So as bleak as COVID made things, that was a bright silver lining to everything that was going on around that time when it aired. And I just loved it. I looked forward to um every episode trying to figure things out. So with this trailer, it adds to that intrigue, and I'm trying to figure out like how the hell is Ant-Man gonna, not only what is he gonna do for Kang that Kang couldn't do himself, and how the hell is he gonna get away alive? Because if you look at the trailer, Ant-Man don't look too good. He is hurting, and um it's gonna be interesting to see how, if he even survives, because that's another thing people talk about. I think that people think Ant-Man's gonna die, and that would be crazy because this is a solo movie. Well, it's a standalone Ant-Man movie. It's not like an Avengers or a team up movie or whatever. It's Ant-Man's movie, and I, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think a title character has died in their movie. So like I don't think Thor hasn't died. Iron Man hasn't died, not in their movie at least. So I don't think he's gonna die. I think it's gonna come to the brink of death, because that's how these movies work. It's always like they tug at the heartstrings, and then they make you think something's gonna happen and be like, ah, I got you. Not really, but it works. Even though you can see it coming from a mile away, it works. Um, so they, yeah, so it's gonna be insane. It comes out February 17th. Wait, that's my son's birthday. Oh shit. What am I gonna do? I can't go to the, because I don't take him to the movies for those, because I don't think they like him. He's 6, so I mean he's gonna be 7. But I just realized that. Shit, I gotta figure that out. Uh, anyway, I probably won't see it on the 17th. I gotta see what day it lands on anyway. But I'll probably see it like that weekend or something. But anyway, sorry for that little tangent. It literally just came to me that that's what was happening, and I gotta figure that out. But anyway, I'm excited, and I can't wait to see it. Yeah. So okay, let's see where we're at. Can I squeeze in? All right. So I was gonna talk about like the whole Andrew Tate stuff, but I feel like that's very negative, and I don't want to, like I said in the beginning, I don't want to feel like I'm ranting. So I won't talk about that. I was gonna talk about it. It's kind of old news at this point, but I felt like I didn't get a chance to talk about it, and Yeah, so I won't talk about it, but if you know, you know, pretty much. So last thing is it's kind of it's kind of like a personal thing. So as you know, I've been talking about a lot of like movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Entertainment. That's why I like entertainment, and that's why I like providing entertainment. Anyway, so Avatar 2 just released didn't just released it came out like a month ago. And the promotion for it was, I don't want to say it was like everywhere. It was I saw some commercials for it. I saw some ads like online and billboards and stuff like that. But it wasn't like crazy cuz Disney owns Avatar now. So it you would think this is their big movie or one of their big movies of the year. You would think they'd go crazy. Like they freaking went crazy over Marvel. Like every Marvel movie gets like the crazy advertisements. So you would think that Avatar would get the same treatment, but I felt like they didn't. I don't know. But anyway, so it released last year, well, yeah, it did release last year. It released last month, and it came out with relatively little fanfare. Like people went to see it, obviously, and they they said it was good. Like it was nothing to write home about. Like that, it was a good movie, visually very impressive. The story was decent. That's what I heard. I haven't seen the movie. Um, and it came out like it was a modest. It did modestly. The thing that gets me though is prior to its release, the director James Cameron, he was so like obnoxious about it. He made it seem like this movie was gonna revolutionize the industry, that people are gonna like carve time out of their schedule and say it and see it. And it was 3 hours long. So what was the comment he made? He said, uh go, like, because people were complaining, oh, it's 3 hours, like what are you gonna do about bathroom breaks and stuff like that. I said, go to the bathroom, you'll see the scenes that you missed when when you see it again. And I don't know, that just, it came off as so arrogant, that he knew his movie was gonna be the best, that he knew his movie was gonna be safe. He said that, well, I don't know. Some people have conflicting reports on it, but um they said that, or so James Cameron said that he needed the movie to do like 2 billion in order to turn a profit. But apparently it was the next two movies. Cause and that was another thing. The fact that he did Avatar 2, he has Avatar 3 planned, 4 planned, 5, and I think 6. So he has all these Avatar movies planned out. Like if it like I don't know, it just seems like, granted they could all be successful. I'm not gonna say they're not gonna be, but to be that pompous and that arrogant, to say like, these I'm gonna make these movies because this movie is gonna be successful, it just comes off so wrong to me. And I don't want to support that. Like I'm not one to make a stand and make a statement. I usually don't care about this shit, but the stuff that I've seen about James Cameron and how arrogant he comes off about these movies, and not only that, his fan base, and it boggles my mind at how people can just like blindly support this guy. Like, you don't know him, he don't know you, he just made a movie that you like, and you're gonna go and defend him. They So I've gotten to like arguments on Twitter about it, saying that I don't like how he came across when marketing this movie and talking about it. And they were defending like, oh, cry, you cope harder, you eat James Cameron's boo, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, why are you going so hard for this guy? Like, you don't know him, he don't know you. Is he paying you? Like, is he giving you money to defend him, defend his honor? Like, stop with the bootlicking, dudes. Like, it's not a good look. um but anyway, yeah, so then Avatar came out and it did modestly, but then it just kept doing well. And that's what got me frustrated because I was just like, I don't want to see this movie out of principle because I don't like James Cameron. Like, the movie could be great. I don't care about the movie. Like, the movie is fine. I will see it eventually when it comes to Disney Plus because I'm not gonna spend more. That's another thing too. Fucking movie prices. It's like $70 just for, well, for me, because when I go to the movies I like to bring my kids and my fiance with me. I don't go to movies by myself. That's weird. I mean, that's your thing, great. Not for me. Um yes, it's like fucking $70. And that's not even counting food. Then the food is crazy too. So it's like almost like $200 just to go see a movie. Fuck out of here. I'm not doing that. But yeah, so I'm gonna wait till it comes out on Disney Plus. I think it should be there like February. But anyway, yeah. So it just blew up and people were seeing it and it was doing so well. And James Cameron just basically was just like getting all smug about it, and he was saying like, "Oh, I guess now I gotta make the other movies now." Like, man, shut up, shut up. It's like, I don't like how arrogant he is. And maybe it's just because I'm so online and I see all this stuff that it just makes me so irrationally angry about it. Like, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I really don't care. It's whatever. But it's just like, it's just, I see it and it just bothers me, so I had to talk about it. But what I would say, as I end this show, I don't know why I'm so like congested right now, but I will say, so there was another movie that came out around the same time, Puss in Boots. That movie I did see. I wanted to see it in theaters, but again, movie prices is OD, and but when I wanted to see it, apparently they had released it on digital now, so you could buy it digitally. So I was gonna pony up the dough, whatever, but then like I wanted to go out to eat beforehand. I wanted to make a day with the family. So I ended up not going to the movies and I bought it online because it was, if I went to the movies it would have been like $80. And then uh if I bought it online it was only 30. So, and I got a good TV. I got an OLED, so 55-inch OLED. So it looked pretty good. But the movie itself, Puss in Boots, amazing. Honestly, it had no right to be as good as it was. If you have kids, it's an awesome movie to have watch with you because when I watched it, I brought up that we were gonna watch it, and for whatever reason, my kids they want to watch what they want to watch. So when I make a suggestion, they're just like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it." Like when I said we were gonna watch a movie, my son's like, "Are we gonna watch Sonic?" They love Sonic. Are we gonna watch Sonic? And I was like, "No, we're gonna watch a new movie, Puss in Boots." And they was just like, "I don't know what that is." And then they just like kind of dismissed it. And then when it came time to, because I already bought it, so I was like, "No, we're watching this movie. Like I didn't just buy this movie for you to not watch it. So we're watching it." They were just apprehensive about it, but eventually they came around and we watched it, and they were hooked. They were hooked. Like literally, I thought they were gonna fall asleep because sometimes when they don't want to watch something, they'll fall asleep. But they got so into this movie. I got so into this movie. My fiance got so into this movie. It was so good. Like you wouldn't think it's Puss in Boots. Like I think this is the sequel. So the first movie, I bet you didn't even know there was a first movie. But it's like Shrek, that universe. Um, and it did such a good job with like not only the animation was, if you like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you'll love this movie because the animation is like on par. Because so it was very interesting because they did the regular traditional like 3D animation where it looks like pretty much every other movie from a stylistic perspective. But when they did the fight scenes, it turned into like the animation style that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did, where it was like maybe it's like 20 frames per second. It was like a low frame rate to make it more stylized and more like comic booky. I don't know how to explain it, but it was so, and the visuals like they popped. It was amazing, and the writing was on par. Like it was honestly, it came out of left field, to be honest. Because and then on the Rotten Tomatoes, because I'm not one to like completely abide by Rotten Tomatoes, but I kind of use it as a gauge to see whether a movie is worth watching or not. Because if I'm not sure on it, then I'm not gonna waste my time. But yeah. So Puss in Boots, give it a shot. It's on digital, so you don't have to spend absorb uh, an absorbent. You won't have to spend a lot of money to see it. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So Puss in Boots, in my opinion, better than Avatar, and I'll leave it at that. That's gonna do it for me. I'm glad I was able to fill this hour because I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to. I apologize, brother Jay, if this is not what you thought it was gonna be, because he wanted me to talk about more serious stuff, but I can't not by myself, because I don't wanna just come off as being preachy. But anyway, uh, that'll do it for me. Follow us on all our socials. The link tree will be in the bio. Lead to our TikTok, our Facebook, our Instagram, all that nice stuff. Watch the Loading Up podcast, because I love doing that show with Brother Zay and Brother Tay. It's really cool, and I record gameplay for it, and we get into some cool stuff. Follow us on socials. I said that already. And yeah, thank you for watching and listening. And I'll see you guys next week with the rest of the crew.